Hey, yo, what up? It's your boy. So I apologize that I'm slightly late to this piece of news, but in case you guys didn't see it, I was tagged a lot. I mean, a lot, especially on Twitter. So thank you to everyone who did tag me over on Twitter so I could see this video. But there is a YouTube video that came out last week by this small anime YouTuber called Suede. Something very terrifying just happened to him, where he basically got most, if not all, of his videos on this channel taken down by ShoPro. I'm not going to go through the entirety of the legal drama since Suede himself actually made a pretty good and comprehensive video about it, shown right here, so I'll leave that down in the description below. Please go check it out and then come back to this one. But the long and the short of it is that basically ShoPro, or Shogakukan Productions, which is a subsidiary of Shogakukan, Shueisha, Hakusensha, and a bunch of other publications that obviously publish manga and anime, went ahead and basically gave a lawsuit to this small-time YouTuber for making Pokemon-based videos, and essentially gave him what is considered a slap suit, which is somewhat of a, almost, I wouldn't say it's like blackmail or anything like that, but it basically borders on the line of blackmail and a lawsuit. But a lot of people were linking me to this particular video, kind of asking for my thoughts on it, you know, being like, as the title suggests, is every anime YouTuber going to disappear tomorrow because of this move that ShoPro has committed on this small-time anituber? Not too long ago, we had that problem with Totally Not Mark, another anime YouTuber who got absolutely destroyed by Toei. I'll leave the link to that video up in the corner there, so please go check it out. But it was a similar situation where an anime production company, publishing company that has a lot of IPs, very strong, notable IPs, basically were targeting small-time anitubers, or even big-time anitubers in the case with Totally Not Mark, and basically saying fuck you to fair use, and we're gonna take your shit down because you guys technically didn't get permission, written permission through a fucking contract or whatever, to use footage and materials from the IPs that we own. It was a real shit show. Luckily, Mark, since then, has somewhat kind of won or like resolved the problem, sort of. With this one, it's a little more of a difficult situation because this is a production company, or I guess an IP holder in the anime world, that has not really shown its ugly side, has not really pulled the mask back on itself and been like, hey, we're a big anime corporation and we are gonna completely utilize the fact that fair use is not a thing that exists in Japan. And what's especially scary about ShoPro is the fact that they do own a large collection of very notable series. I'm looking at the list right here, but they mostly are known to be the IP holders of Pokemon anime series and a lot of the Pokemon movies. You have more children-oriented shows like Doraemon and Hamtaro that they also own. And then you have some of the more big classic series like Detective Conan, Inuyasha, Ranma, for example. All in all, they do own a decent amount of IPs, but on the grander scale of anime, they don't really own a whole lot. If anything, in terms of the amount of IPs and the notoriety of the IPs, I think Toei is definitely more of a threat to anime YouTubers than ShoPro is. Because mind you, even though ShoPro may be a subsidiary of big publications like Shueisha, Shogakukan, and Hakusensha, they only own really a smaller amount of series compared to, say, Shogakukan and Shueisha. Of course, in saying that, that doesn't mean that ShoPro right now are not a threat. Obviously, they are a big threat right now because they have kind of broken through the loophole of fair use on YouTube and done something that is really shitty, really scammy, especially when they're basically bullying these smaller creators. A lot of people were asking on Twitter when tagging me in this video, you know, what are your thoughts on it? Is this the end of anime YouTube as we speak? The answer, the honest to God answer, is I don't know. As of right now, yes, we have ShoPro and Toei, who are the big two culprits right now in really cracking down on the lack of fair use in Japan and utilizing the lack of fair use in Japan as not being a law by the book to slam down content creators, international content creators on YouTube for things that they are totally in the right for. But I think the one saving grace right now about this whole problem is the fact that it is only ShoPro and Toei who are doing this. Because if you think about it, there is a shitload of other anime series and IPs that are not under ShoPro and Toei that a lot of people online are talking about, and a lot of people are using the materials for fair use or not. And I really don't know if this is going to be the beginning of the end for anime YouTube, but I know for a fact that it's going to start to get even more terrifying when more IP holders kind of hear about what ShoPro and Toei are actively doing to anime YouTubers. As someone who is part of an agency that is under Kadokawa, I work very closely with the folks over at Kadokawa, as well as folks over at Kodansha, and I like to think that I'm trying to do my best when creating anime content, especially when it deals with IPs that are owned by Kadokawa and Kodansha and other publishers that I personally have good connections with. That the idea of fair use is kind of slowly creeping its way through. And I think that's the biggest problem right now, is that there is this clear divide between IP holders and publication companies like Toei and ShoPro that don't want to deal with the international audience, don't want to work in the international audience, aren't even interested in promoting their shit through an international influencer or trying to appeal to an international audience. And the publication companies like Kodansha and Kadokawa that are interested in it do want to expand internationally, do want to work with international influencers like us. So right now, I really do think it's kind of like a good guys versus the bad guys right now when it comes to anime YouTube. And I think the only way that this will not be the end of the world for anime YouTube is to, in some way, I don't know how, obviously, because if I knew how, I would be trying to actively do it, is to somehow, somebody or something convince the rest of these IP holders and anime publication companies like Shogakukan Shueisha, like Toei, to basically try to see the benefits of these anitubers who are using their products and their IPs in ways that does follow the fair use policy. And I guess another big factor as to why Japan is going to take a while to approve this kind of stuff is the fact that Japanese entertainment, especially on things like TV and more traditional media, that Japan is still very much has its prime in, to appeal to a more aged audience, is the fact that a lot of what is considered entertainment through the lens of a Japanese consumer does not revolve around criticism. Admittedly, not every single anime YouTubing content or anime video on YouTube is necessarily critiquing or criticizing a show, but for a lot of anitubers, including myself, a lot of it does revolve around the realm of criticism and critiquing. And Japan does not view criticism and critiquing, at least the majority of Japan, and especially again through the lens of these more traditionalist, Puritan type of like IP holders and heads of companies like ShoPro, they don't view criticism and critique culture as entertainment. They view it as a legitimate threat. So when you have that kind of like negative connotation through what is otherwise a form of edutainment for a lot of international viewers like us, that just even drives the fact home harder that, oh, not only are you using our IPs without our permission, but you're also making fun of us without our permission. You're also bad-mouthing us. So how are we supposed to say okay to that? How are we supposed to let you not only use our IPs, but also shit talk us in the process? When, in those kinds of IP companies' defense, yes, there are a lot of anitubing content that does revolve around negative criticism, that does revolve around negative critiquing, but, this is the internet, and everyone is free to have their own opinion, bro. Because I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks this, but I don't think there's ever been a time where there was so much negative criticism towards a particular IP or a particular show that it actually deteriorated the sales of said IP, because that's not how criticism and critiquing works on an online front. Think of all of the hundreds and thousands of people, including myself, that shit talk shows like Akamega Kill or Sword Art Online. Did it necessarily deplete the sales, the overall sales, and the overall popularity of the show? No. In fact, the main culprit for why IPs drop off and fall off is more so on just the quality of the content in general, and also also how much the IP holders are advertising said show. If anything, there are actually a lot of shows that have survived longer than they should have on the internet because they have built this strong notoriety towards how, quote unquote, bad they might be, and have almost lived on as a meme. You know, take, say, School Days, for instance. Like, that show should have died ages ago, but because of how controversial the show was and how much it was talked about, regardless if it was talked about in a positive or negative connotation on YouTube, it has lasted way longer than a plethora of mediocre shows out there that disappeared after the first 3 months. But of course, I guarantee the IP holders of things like School Days aren't taking advantage of those memes, because guaranteed they're like Shogakukan and Shueisha, where they don't believe that negative criticism or critiquing is a legitimate form of marketing and advertising. You know, all of this would be cleared and done and dusted if Japan implements the fair use policy. But Japan, as I've mentioned in many videos in the past, is like 20-30 years behind when it comes to internet culture. So, you know, and especially with these like anime publication companies, for example, that are owned by very older generational people who don't really know or understand or care about things like YouTube and social media and digital marketing and stuff like that, it's going to be very difficult to kind of push across this idea of, hey, have you ever considered perhaps, you know, they don't need necessarily written permission to use your IPs, and they can just kind of use it, and you can just trust that they're using your stuff not in a malicious, stealing, pirating way, but more so as a form of free advertisement for your shows. You know, as simple and as straightforward as that sounds to people who are on YouTube, who do make anime content, who do make content that uses third-party IPs, whether it be anime or gaming or movies or anything like that, it's obvious common sense, right? To a lot of people, we are using it in a fair use way. We are using it as a free advertising type way. We are using it in an entertainment-based way that does follow fair use policy. But of course, again, not everyone is innocent. Obviously, you know, there are a lot of people who just rip straight episodes onto YouTube or to other sites like Vimeo or Dailymotion, where it's a little bit more difficult for the hand of the law to kind of crush down on top of them, because, you know, they're not really following fair use policy. But yeah, as of right now, it's really fucking unfortunate what happened to Suede. He has said in this video that he has started a new YouTube channel, because obviously ShoPro has really fucked up his own channel, which is a real shame, because it seemed like he was just kind of getting the ball rolling with this current channel. So I guess I'll leave the link to his new channel down in the description, so, you know, go check him out, I guess, and please give him your support, because, you know, I don't want to see anyone go through this shit. It's the same thing that happened with Totally Not Mark as well. It's like, I don't care who you are, I don't care if I know you or your content or not. You know, if you kind of make the same shit that we do in this community, then, you know, I want to try and support you. And this guy seems to have, you know, his head screwed on pretty well onto his shoulders. So, you know, it really does suck that something horrible like this has happened to him. And it's also really freaking terrifying that, you know, any one of us, as he said in this video, any one of us could be next. But yeah, at this point, I guess it's just like a matter of time, I guess. Like, I don't know if like ShoPro or Toei or any other IP or publication holder that is also part of these guys and has the same mentality as these guys is like planning out like a giant, like massive sting operation to just banhammer every single Anituber and just YouTuber in general or content creator online that does use their IPs without any permission. I mean, you know, personally speaking, I'm also not really surprised that publications like Shogakukan and Shueisha would do something like this, because as someone who has tried to work with Shueisha personally in the past, they just like straight up denied working with me at one point, because they looked at my channel and they saw that I was using some of their IPs, notably Jump IPs, because what Anituber doesn't talk about fucking Jump IPs on YouTube? And they were like, oh, we don't want to work with anyone who uses our IPs without our permission, which just like blew my mind. It's so ridiculous how just some of these publication companies in Japan just truly do not understand fair use and truly do not understand the benefits that they are potentially missing out on by working directly with international influencers and international anitubers like us. Like it's like, it doesn't matter how big the size is. It's like, it's free advertisement. Why would you not take it? That's like, it's almost as if these like IP holders and publication companies are not aware that people outside of Japan also like anime and manga. You think after the fact that there are literal hundreds and thousands, probably at this point, of anime conventions outside of Japan right now, and that, you know, just anime and manga in general has just exploded thanks to, you know, streaming sites like Crunchyroll, like Netflix. You'd think that, you know, perhaps there is a market out there that potentially could be good to, you know, advertise to, but it actually does blow my mind just how unaware and uninterested these IP holders are with promoting to an international audience. And I think that's the one big hurdle that we need to try and get over, is to basically show to these anime IPs that, you know, people outside of Japan also like anime and manga. People outside of Japan are willing to pay money to help support manga creators and anime studios, and that there is collectively a bigger audience outside of Japan that consumes and watches and buys into anime and manga subcultures than the entirety of the population of Japan. I apologize that I'm not able to like come up with like an all-resolving solution to this particular problem, but you know, hopefully you understand. It is a very messy and sticky situation. As Suede said in this video, ShoPro have every right, basically, to do what they did to this channel. They legally speaking, they're doing nothing wrong, but in terms of looking at it from the context of, you know, an online content creator that does follow and strongly believe in the fair use policy, it really is like a scammy and scummy thing that ShoPro did to this channel. I'm just sitting here fucking crossing my fingers that no one else has to go through this shit. Like, I don't want to go through it. I don't want to see my friends go through it. I don't want to see any anituber or just content creator in general go through what they did. If you are an anituber, or especially if you're using content owned by ShoPro, and you can easily Google it and see like which IPs specifically ShoPro is owning, I guess just watch out. And you know, if there's one thing that I want to say to YouTube in this matter, is that yeah, as I totally agree with Suede, they should bring back geo-blocking for every single YouTuber. The fact that they like turned that shit off and only made it accessible to people who are part of a network is kind of ridiculous, because up until not too long ago, anybody could do that. Like, any YouTuber, regardless of if you were partnered or if you were verified, if you wanted to block a video from a certain country or a certain region, or just from, you know, a number of countries or a number of regions, it was just easy as 1, 2, 3. You could just do it on your end. You didn't have to go through a network manager or anything like that. But I guess now, because you know, YouTube has been working a lot closer and tighter with advertisers ever since the Adpocalypse 1.0, I guess they just like took that away and is only caring about the big creators now, which is, you know, so I don't have to tell you how shitty that is on YouTube's part. So yeah, a lot of big problems, very sticky situations. Again, very unfortunate what happened to Suede, and I hope he finds success with his new channel. But that was just my 2 cents, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And yeah, now I am absolutely terrified for my main channel. Unlike this channel right here, my main channel, especially in the past, has used anime IPs and anime footage. I don't remember necessarily if I used any footage or talked about or made videos on IPs owned by ShoPro necessarily, but I mean, I made almost over 1,000 videos on that channel, so God knows, there might be 1 or 2 videos there that have just slipped through the cracks, and it's just a matter of time before ShoPro finds them. So I guess in the meantime, what you can do is smack my face right here to subscribe to this channel. Let's keep making big channel number go bigger. And over here next to my head is a couple more videos you can check out if you enjoyed this one. And if there are any more news and stuff like that you'd like me to talk about on this channel, then hit your boy up on social media. Links is down in the description below as always. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.